Gachira and I work with One Accounting, which is a business advisory and accounting firm. Now, if you run a business, I'm pretty sure that you've probably received an email from KRA telling you to file your minimum tax. And so today I just want to break it down to you guys. What is this minimum tax all about? I've had so many people ask me this question. And what's the difference between the minimum tax and installment tax, which you're used to paying? And so minimum tax, just by using the definition of, the same word, is a minimum tax you're supposed to pay if you run a business in Kenya. Of course, there are a few exemptions which I'll highlight later, but this is coming from a backdrop where KRA has noticed that many people actually file losses. So historically, what we usually do is you take your gross turnover, your sales, you deduct your expenses, and whatever net profit you have is what you subject to tax. And so many Kenyans have been filing losses. And so because of this, the government through KRA decided to introduce a minimum tax, which is actually being charged at a rate of 1% on the gross turnover. So this is important to note that this is on the gross turnover before you deduct any expenses, and it's being paid quarterly, or there's a way there's a period within which you're supposed to file this, and I'll be highlighting that in a few. But the key thing to note here is that the tax is being charged on your gross turnover. So what that means is if you take maybe the first 3 months of the year, January, February, March, you made 1 million shillings every month, so that's 3 million. You take 1% of the 3 million, which comes to 30,000. That is what your minimum tax is before you deduct any expenses. Now, I've talked about installment tax, which I think is also important to highlight so that you can see how those two work in tandem. So installment tax is what we've been paying really as advanced tax in installments. And what you do, you take your previous year profit. So for instance, if you made a profit, not a profit, rather your tax liability. So if your tax liability the previous year was 100,000, you mark that up by 10%. So you take 110,000 shillings, you divide that by 4. Whatever amount you get, you pay in installments every quarter, right? So it's almost like you're projecting how much tax you will pay in the current year and paying it in installments. That's why it's called installment tax. Now, why it's important to highlight that is because you will be paying whichever is higher of the two. So if you're not supposed to do both minimum tax and installment tax. So if you calculate your minimum tax, for instance, and it comes to 30,000 and your installment tax comes to 25,000, then what you're supposed to pay is a higher one, which is a minimum tax of 30,000. I hope you're clear on that. And how you pay it, which is I think important to highlight, is that you pay it on the 20th, on or before the 20th of the 4th month, the 6th month, the 9th month, and the 12th month. So for instance, and I use this as an example, if your financial year runs from January to December, for instance, so your 4th month is April. So the first payment, which includes payment for the first 3 months, January, February, and March, you're supposed to pay it by the 20th of April, right? The second payment you're supposed to pay for the 4th and 5th month. So this is payment for April and May, which you're supposed to do by 20th of the 6th month, which is June. The third payment is for the 6th, 7th, and 8th month, which you pay by the 20th of the 9th month, which is September. And the fourth payment you pay for the 9th, 10th, and 11th month. Again, you pay it on or before the 20th of the 12th month. If, again, your accounting year is running from January to December, then that's by the 20th of December. The balance of that you pay by the 4th month, by the end of the 4th month, right, of the following year. So you pay that by 30th of April. So it's the same model for installment tax that will be adopted for the minimum tax. So that's important to note. So many may ask, so if I still pay minimum tax or installment tax, do I still need to pay my corporate tax at the end of the year, the 30%? Yes, but what happens is the amount you've paid as minimum tax or as an installment tax will be counted as an advance tax. So you're able to reduce your tax, by either the minimum or the installment tax. So for instance, if you now do your calculation at the end of the year and you find that the tax liability is 100,000 and you'd already paid 120,000, right? So that means KRA has a credit for you, which is 20,000. If you had paid 100,000 and you calculate your tax liability for the year to be 90,000, it means you have a 10K that you need to pay, right? Now, what if your business makes a loss? If you make a loss, then the minimum tax or the installment tax will be treated as a final tax. So I think that's also very important to note. So that will be it, you'll have paid, and that will be a final tax. So what are some of the exemptions to this minimum tax, which was introduced again on 1st of January this year? So number one, employment income. If you're employed, then this does not apply to you. Any income subject to capital gains tax, so if you've sold a piece of property or anything capital in nature, and got an income in that way, then this does not apply to you. Any income from the extractive sector also does not apply. So this includes, like, I think the oil industry, etc. And number four, if you fall under the category of residential rental income, or you're taxed under the turnover tax regime, then this does not apply to you as well. So those are just some tips on the minimum tax. Remember, you're supposed to pay, if your financial year runs from January to December, your deadline to pay that is by 20th of April, which is coming up in a few days. So in case you need any help with that, please do contact us. In case you have any questions or clarifications that maybe you might need made on what minimum tax and installment tax is all about, again, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, thank you for sparing your time to watch this, and see you soon in the next video. Thank you.